first quarter. Now we in the fourth quarter, man.
Welcome back to the fourth quarter.
It's game time, baby.
It's game time. It was game time last night. It was so loud. The Knicks comeback against the Spurs for game
Greatest
4.
comeback in NBA Finals history.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's got to be.
Yo,
I mean, they
Producer
came back
Pablo,
down 29 points at the end of the third.
Producer Pablo, that was timely, but that was a crazy sound effect to include, man. Why don't we ever include Atlanta Hawks stuff when they win, huh?
They need to do more winning, honestly. They're coming back, though, next year.
Because they didn't win.
Oh, wow.
My God.
We're already catching strays. It's not even been, 2 minutes in the show?
Friendly fire is off, I guess. I love it. It was actually so loud. You could literally hear I was only watching the scores for the game because we were prepping for the podcast, but you could hear people from the streets roaring every time they scored the last few seconds in the fourth quarter. So
the streets were literally packed, watching, projectors on the apartment building wall, streets crowded. I mean, it's not there's no other city with that type of energy when it comes to supporting their sports.
That's what I do think is so magical about this place. But yeah, we were grinding late last night for the show, and I thought I knew everything, but you have a hat on. First time you're wearing a hat on the show.
Yeah, I got to shout out my boy Grant. He started his own company called Good Labs. Really interesting. It's a health and wellness company.
It's a clean hat.
It is a clean hat. That's honestly why I'm wearing it. I feel like it goes with the fit pretty well. The logo is pretty awesome, but really actually very much in the health and wellness space. They're essentially encouraging people to get blood panels or blood tests, right? That's the typical health and wellness move that we're seeing. You want to make sure you want to measure all your different, vitamins, the levels. And what they've done is that they've expanded their distribution through blood donations. What they found is that people aren't, when they're getting their blood donated, they're actually not getting
They're
their
not
blood
a sponsor,
tested.
by the way.
They're not a sponsor. I just wanted to shout out Grant because I really like his mission. He actually has a pre-existing condition where he has to donate blood every single week. I think he has an iron sufficiency, too much iron in his body. And what he was realizing was that every weekly blood test that he was taking, he wasn't getting it tested. So he was like, why not just combine the two?
Wow.
And they're already in San Francisco, Nashville. I think they're going to Chattanooga, Northern Virginia as well. So pretty cool initiative.
Non-coastal elite cities.
Not coastal elite cities, because I think that they want to test whether, they can scale blood donations and blood testings in these cities that aren't very biohacker-ish. And at the same time, there's a lot of different regulations. It's a lot easier to work in those cities. They found San Francisco as the first city to work with, and that did amazingly well. And then now they're looking at some of these, other spots like Chattanooga, Rome, Georgia, etc.
Very cool. Very cool. Shout out Grant. He was a early supporter, still is an early supporter of the fourth quarter. So we got to figure out some more merch integrations. You got me a hat, which is nice.
Yeah, they have sauna hats. So maybe we do a show in the sauna.
That would be cool.
And we throw the Good Lab sauna hat. That'd be pretty fun.
That would be really cool. Diving right into our headline story. Today is a very big day, not for the Knicks. It's actually because the World Cup is starting today. Can you believe that song is made by IShowSpeed?
Honestly, he's been making some World Cup
right?
song bangers. I think he actually made the official playlist for FIFA 26 World Cup for this new song that he made.
Anyway, 48 teams, 104 matches, 3 countries spanning games. FIFA World Cup is finally here. We've been talking about it for a while. So much commotion, good and bad. A lot of debate about the business, off the field, on the field, and now it's finally here, so we'll see what happens. They just quietly pulled off, FIFA quietly just pulled off, the most aggressive distribution land grab in history of sports media. It's really fascinating. So they turned TikTok and YouTube into live broadcasters. They've handed over an entire country, Brazil, to a 32-year-old streamer to help distribute this and, vocalize fans and get fans super amped about World Cup. They've got all 48 national teams playable inside a Roblox game. You could play FIFA through Netflix. We're going to talk about that. And last week, they put IShowSpeed's song on the official World Cup album and handed him the first ever FIFA fan ID, which is, I think, awesome. So let's talk about it. I know you have a lot of things. You just wrote a newsletter that's about to come out.
Yes, it's going to come out. It's going to come out in a few hours. We're recording this show Thursday morning, so it'll be out Thursday in the afternoon.
So tell me why all of these different moves are interesting and important for FIFA as they approach the World Cup?
Yeah, I think it's really important because right now we're seeing a lot of negative press around FIFA.
What are they saying? Tell me what they're saying.
So they've been instituting a variable pricing model for how they're distributing and selling tickets. And let's be real, it's quite expensive and pricing out 90% majority of fans.
Do you have any price tags to
I've seen that it can range from, I've seen like the most expensive tickets going up all the way to $72,000.
Okay.
At the same time, we're looking at ticket prices are actually dropping right now because they haven't actually filled out the stadiums because they priced out too many people. I was looking at like the USA Paraguay game, just to get a nosebleed seat at SoFi. I think it's
SoFi Stadium is in Los Angeles.
SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles and Inglewood. It's like $1,000. Think about it. What it would have been like 2 weeks ago buying tickets. It probably would have been $2,000, $2,500, right? And so these tickets have been way too expensive because they've been using this thing called a variable pricing model. We've talked about this previously on our show.
So why would they use a variable pricing model? Is it basically because they think the United States, the capital of the world, there's of course a huge sports culture here, if not the largest in the world, and they want to maximize profits?
Exactly. They want to maximize commercial value. Gianni Infantino, he's been very much set on he is the president of FIFA, and so. President of FIFA, Gianni, he essentially is trying to build out this model where they can commercialize FIFA and make it a true like commercial powerhouse in the sports space, right? They're a nonprofit organization, but they do hold probably the most potent, sports IP on the planet. And, they've done that with the FIFA Club World Cup. They've been able to institute that, generated billions of dollars of profit from it. And at the same time, now they want to extract as much value as they can because they're in North America, like you said. And with this, there's a lot of pushback because they're essentially saying, look, this wasn't built for the fans, right? They're not, it's hard to get into these games. We're seeing that, we're going to talk about this later about not many people traveling to
that's our next segment,
North America and to the U.S. to even, come and see, the World Cup live.
One of the next segments.
But what they've done is maximize distribution across streaming and digital platforms.
Yeah.
Right? We saw that they made TikTok and YouTube preferred platforms, and it's really interesting how they're instituting it.
So just to put some color, because I did introduce this up top. So you just said FIFA just made TikTok and YouTube preferred distribution partners. So rights holders on YouTube, so FIFA's allowing people on YouTube broadcasting rights to live stream the first 10 minutes of games on the platform. So the first time partial live action actually appears free on YouTube and TikTok. And then there's also YouTube FIFA Creator Cup that's happening in New York City in July, so getting culturally relevant folks in there. And then you also have TikTok. You have people that are getting influencers that are getting special access for video content around World Cup. IShowSpeed, you were telling me about this, is going to be engaging with fans in the stadium and whatnot. But creators are getting special access and the ability to co-create FIFA archival footage, essentially. So creating culturally relevant distribution, video clips, cultural zeitgeist. Rights holders can also live stream parts of the game, like I mentioned, but in dedicated apps, in the dedicated app hub as well. So you can. They're trying to do everything to distribute this media property.
Exactly, and I think this is great for a lot of partners because, like you mentioned, the media partners, Fox, Peacock, Telemundo, they can now distribute clips and also this content that they've licensed from FIFA onto TikTok and YouTube, and that's great for user acquisition. If I can show the first 10 minutes of a game on YouTube, people will know that Fox, I can watch this on Fox, and I'm watching the first 10 minutes. Maybe I decide to subscribe to Fox 1. At the same time, they can decide what games can go fully streamed on YouTube, which I think is really smart because you want to make sure that there's still fans that can see and engage with the game, and at the same time understand that, it's Fox that has the rights for this game as well. So all that information is extremely important to have, and I think distributing through TikTok and YouTube is great. The one thing that I'm super excited about is, and a lot of people were actually not too happy about, was when FIFA used to have a major licensing deal, a long-term licensing deal with EA, right? You remember games used to be called FIFA 16, FIFA 17, now it's just called EAFC. They removed that licensing agreement in 2022, and they've now essentially built out their digital football strategy, which is we're going to make sure that we partner with as many gaming platforms as possible. The first one that they worked with is obviously Roblox. Mm-hmm. That's a huge platform with hundreds of millions of users. And at the same time, Netflix now has a Netflix games arm. I don't know if you've been watching if you have been Netflix and chilling recently, you can now play games too.
Jesus.
Sorry, I thought that was a funny joke. But The thing is that Netflix, the Netflix games,
I don't know if that was a genuine laugh, but you sounded exactly like
LeBron,
Kawhi.
like Kawhi. Sorry. Yeah, no, I honestly I like mimicked it pretty well.
Yeah, I don't know if I think you were trying to like fake laugh something.
Okay, so essentially with Netflix, they now have Netflix games, and look, they have 300 million plus users. Okay, FIFA doesn't even come close to the amount of copies that they've sold. I think it was like 12 million for EA FC 26. So you're just getting mass distribution for people to interact with this content IP, and I think that's really smart, especially because it just makes like the live experience. It's going to continually be priced up and up and up. Live sports and being there in person is so valuable, and if they're going to monetize it, they need to make sure that people can still access the content digitally as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. It'll be interesting to see, and we'll be covering it over the next 2 months or so, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to also see what Cosm's also showing the games as well. That's an immersive viewing experience.
We thought the ticket prices would be cheaper.
Yeah, it's like $550 a ticket, and they're selling out.
That's wild.
Hey, at least it's half the price of going to the actual game.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but there's more around this in our sports real estate section that we're going to touch on. Basically, hotels are not able to fill. They're missing their projections because they thought they would get this influx of capacity from the World Cup, and they're completely missing from travelers that are trying to watch the games. Completely missing these projections, and it's big loss of potential revenue, right? So we'll get on that in the real estate section, but before we get there, we have to talk about our cultural sports headline, staying on the soccer team and theme for this. So specifically, the first thing, there's two parts to this, but Nike, once again, I feel like Nike has been in our cultural zeitgeist for a couple times. They had the brick Soho activation here in New York City, where there's a big brick crushing a BMW
on Mulberry Street.
On Mulberry for a shoe release, like a Nike Dunk release. We had Nike doing various things. Their basketball shoes sales have been going down. So people are saying athletes and the people that they're signing haven't been as culturally relevant. That's led to a decrease or potential decrease in shoe sales in the basketball division. But this is an interesting one. In that section, we said Nike share price has been down a bunch year to date, right? And roughly 30%. And we said Nike should be focusing on signing more culturally relevant people like influencers. And guess what? For the billionth time, the fourth quarter is right again on predictions. We are literally genies.
Where's our crystal ball?
Honestly, that's a little Easter egg for what's coming later in this episode. But Nike just signed its second ever streamer after Kai Cenat, Marlon. Marlon, the big streamer, the Swedish ex-basketball player turned Twitch phenom. He has 5 million plus followers across socials, walked Paris Fashion Week, is now a swoosh guy. I feel like he was everywhere. Everyone's, apparently mogs these people, good-looking guy, and a good-looking guy, but he's been everywhere, all across the internet zeitgeist. And the fact that one of the largest companies in the world signed him is super interesting. I think him as a person and influencer is very interesting because he's multifaceted. He's a part of the new group Core, which is a lot of the X-Phase guys. He's tapped into Baller League and, IShowSpeed. He's a former basketball player, like we were saying. He's super well. I've seen clips of him playing soccer in like Mr. Beast creator match. He's very athletic. It seems like he's good at a lot of these a lot of these sports, right? And the fact that Nike, the largest sports brand in the world, just signed him is super interesting. Just for timing-wise, Nike's stock price is hit 11-year low. They're trading at around $44, $43.70 when I checked it last night. Down 31% year to date. And they're taking big swings, which I appreciate.
Which I like a lot.
I actually think this is a great move because all of these teenagers, not even Gen Z. What's under Gen Z? Is it Gen Alpha?
Gen Alpha.
Yeah, Gen Alpha is tuned the hell into Marlon and these streamers. And the fact that these bigger companies, we were just talking about FIFA and IShowSpeed, now Nike and Marlon, are tapping into where the attention has been going, that are more culturally relevant than a lot of these athletes. I think it's genius.
Yeah, I think it's really smart. Now, I think it's going to start off pretty small right now. I think it's just like a modeling and brand ambassador. So he's going to be wearing a lot of Nike clothes on his streaming platforms, on his streams, etc. I do think, when are they going to take even a bigger swing and they start giving them full-blown like apparel and footwear deals?
I mean,
where you have like Marlon shoes. Like maybe you wouldn't want to work with Marlon just yet because he's like not big enough. But I think at some point these streamers are going to get so big, so ubiquitous, to a point where it actually could be leverage if you're like, hey, we'll give you a shoe deal, or we'll give you like your own like apparel collection. Same with what they've done with Travis Scott and Drake, right?
I think that's my prediction. I think this is a dog fooding phase and pilot phase to prove out that he's a good fit, that he can drive maybe marginal brand awareness, maybe marginal sales lift, make it culturally relevant. Not that Nike ever wasn't, but make it more. And I think he will eventually, if he keeps going on the trajectory he's planning to go on, or, is on right now, I think he will go down a similar path, have a Travis Scott, Cactus Jack like, collab or line, Nocta, Drake, kind of things we've seen. I'm very excited to see what comes from this.
And last point that I want to make here, what's really unique about working with streaming or streamers is that there's this new huge clipping industry where you're essentially able to boost so many impressions because you can take a full 4 or 5 hour stream and turn it to hundreds and hundreds of clips, and you're doing it on a daily basis. These clips get distributed on Instagram, TikTok, and they just blow up. And so you're able to rack up so much different impressions. And if he's always wearing Nike, that's more impressions for Nike, and you can actually measure and collect that data.
Yeah, 100%. And this is also a moment where there's potentially a big gap a big hole that's about to be had for Nike, where Kylian Mbappe, the soccer star, is about to have his Nike contract expire coming up on July 31st, 2026. He's been a Nike athlete since the age of 8, supposedly, so it's a 19-year relationship, 20-year relationship. But yeah, some reports are saying it's unlikely that he'll be able to renew with Nike, and that other companies like Adidas and Under Armour are coming in. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, he was just in that big Nike World Cup commercial, so
yeah.
Hopefully he's able to stay. But.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Excited to see. But team and league news, I'm going to jump in. This is rapid fire. I'm going to see what you chime in wherever you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. If there's nothing to say, we'll just keep it pushing to the next one. Perfect. 4 team and league business moves on the board this past week, and every one of them is a bet on where the money is moving, and the smart money is moving. So the first up, we have Mark Lazary, the billionaire, mega player in sports, who just sold the Milwaukee Bucks, and his stake in it at a $3.5 billion valuation. And he now wants to bring a Major League Baseball team to Raleigh, North Carolina.
Really?
Super fascinating, okay? So he said he wants to make a big bet on Raleigh, and that it's a market that's going to continue to grow. So Lazary would prefer a controlling or principal position, a majority controlling position in this team. And he said he's willing to work with Tom Dundon, kind of the other big sports owner figure.
Owns the Carolina Hurricanes.
Exactly.
Who are in the Stanley Cup Finals actually right now.
And they're popping off, yeah. And so he's willing to play nice with him and Tom Dundon, who also just bought a stake in the Portland Trail Blazers. So prolific investor, owner in the sports world there. But yeah, so good stuff. Here's the thing. Mark Lazary also already has pro team exposure in Raleigh through NC Courage, the NWSL team. He paid $40 million through Avenue Sports Fund and Avenue Sports Capital, which is his private equity fund. And yeah, they're saying a baseline cost to land and build a franchise and stadium is roughly $4 billion. And MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said that there's planning to be he wants to have 2 expansion cities before his January 2029 planned departure from the MLB when he steps down as commissioner. So it'll be interesting to see. This would be the first expansion since 1998, which I think is fascinating. Raleigh as a whole has 2 million people. It's super growing. Raleigh in the Metro Triangle area. It's growing fast. It has the highest median income of any city without an MLB team, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah, so I have a few takes on this. One, Mark Lazary has always been interested in, baseball as an asset class because he actually, has his own minor league baseball investment platform, On Deck Partners, through Avenue Capital. Actually, one of our good friends, Chirag, works there, and he's
Chirag Mathani.
Chirag Mathani. So shout out to him.
CFO.
I think if you actually just look at the minor league baseball teams that are around Raleigh, right? We're looking at the Durham Bulls. Minor league baseball team. It's one of the most culturally relevant teams in minor league baseball. They've drawn over 485,000 plus fans in 2025, ranking number 8 across minor league baseball teams ahead of many AAA markets, average attendance of 6,510. And minor league baseball as a whole, audience-wise or attendance-wise, was down 3% year over year. So it's clearly a huge baseball market. You're seeing it from the minor league baseball level. I feel like Raleigh would actually be a great place for a major league baseball level, major league baseball stage, because you've already tested the waters from a minor league perspective.
Yeah.
I think you just build on that.
I mean, if the commissioner himself has said it's a priority to make an expansion team, there's ownership backing behind this, and the market makes sense, I'm going to make another prediction that it's going to come true.
Okay.
Before 2029.
Let's see if it happens.
So we'll clip this and well, hopefully we will have a crystal ball by then. Moving on, Underdog Global Partners, a private equity firm in sports, is buying AS Regina 1914, a club that was in Serie A 15 years ago, but is now sitting in the 4th division, and the plan is to claw it back to Serie A in 5 to 7 years. Kelly Ripa, Mark Cancelos, and who are the minority owners of the Underdog Global Partners Serie C team, Campo Basso, are also involved in this deal. Super exciting. For those of you that don't know who Kelly and Mark are, they're, I believe, actors and like not internet, but TV personalities. So it's similar to the Wrexham model, not exactly the Wrexham model, but
unless they build a TV show around them climbing up all the way to Serie A, then it'll be.
I think that's the model here, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anything to add there? Or are you good?
I think I'm good.
Perfect. All right, this is cool. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman, who we saw in person at Columbia Sports Management Summit, or Sports Business Summit, a couple months ago, or late last year. It was cool to see him, by the way. But anyway, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman stood up before Game 1 of the Stanley Cup final and basically said the gold rush is on in the NHL. The NHL just hit a new record. They're projecting $8 billion in revenue this year.
Wow.
Nuts. Everything's up. Olympics is there's so many tailwinds going for hockey right now. Olympics, new media deals, sponsorship, all pointing in the same direction. And it's just up and to the right. So we'll see what happens. Regular season attendance, sponsorship selling out. Like this is awesome for hockey fans. But just wanted to shout out that there's going to be a new record revenue number there.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go, Gary Bettman and the
NHL.
Big week or just big time for Tom Dundon. I feel like he's just in the sports ownership zeitgeist for a lot of different things. He has the Trailblazers, his hockey team, the Carolina Hurricanes, are in the finals.
Pickleball Incorporated, they just got an investment from
He's all over the
Capital.
place.
Yeah.
Shout out to him as well. All right, F1 confirmed a 10-year race extension with the Las Vegas Strip through at least 2037 and signed with the Las Vegas Grand Prix and Clark County. It's super interesting because Monaco is what F1 is known for. Now they're bringing this kind of vibe, aesthetic, ambiance to Las Vegas, trying to make it a marquee race. Since debuting in 2023, the race has delivered $3.2 billion in cumulative economic impact for Southern Nevada, with all 3 races selling out, by the way. In 2025 alone, it generated $43 million in state and local tax revenue, including $15 million for local K-12 education, which I think is super fascinating.
Yeah, I mean,
they're saying this is the new Monaco.
Well, I mean, I haven't been to Monaco before, but like based on the videos and pictures, it does look pretty unbeatable. But I do think that, we've talked about this before, like Vegas is a prime sports city, and the more sports franchises that you bring, the more that sports dominates the culture, and the more that you have to hang on to these sports properties in order to ensure that, you get the local tax revenue that you need to, support a lot of these communities around the city and in Nevada. So I think more and more you'll see that these deals will be brokered, and also long-term deals as well, right? They made sure that the extension was 10 years, right? Not just 5. You got to make sure that the F1 is going to be in Vegas for a very, very long time.
The last thing I'll say on this is that the F1 spent $500 million on land acquisition to buy the land to build the race and the facilities and infrastructures, which is unusual because F1 normally doesn't do this. And also, F1 is the promoter here, and that's the whole business model, and that's why I think it's super fascinating. So most races pay F1 to have it hosted at their city and sanctioning fees, etc. In Vegas, F1 is promoting it and keeps the economics. So you have an incentive for the league itself, for the governing body to incentivize and make this the tentpole event. You have the expanding U.S. body of F1 here, Miami, Vegas, Austin. I think it's awesome. I've been trying to get you into F1, but
Yeah, I just got to wake up at Sunday at 9 in the morning to catch the races.
Earlier than that.
Earlier than that, yeah.
Love it. Okay, sports, real estate, news. We're moving on. This is what we alluded to earlier. So it's kind of real estate, but I think it is very culturally relevant. So the biggest sporting event in American history, the 2026 FIFA World Cup, kicks off today, like I mentioned. But here's the thing. Hotels are sitting half empty. Specifically, they surveyed 200 hotels across 11 host cities, and nearly 80% of bookings tracking below initial forecast. FIFA canceled roughly 70% of the room blocks it had reserved in Boston, Dallas, LA, Philadelphia, and Seattle, inflating early demand signals, which all I can say is classic FIFA in this situation after everything that we've covered about them. Obviously trying to maximize value. But FIFA projected $31 billion in economic value, and the hotels planned accordingly. Higher rates, longer minimum stays, room blocks held for international wave. And that's kind of missing, right? So Kansas City was the worst market. 85 to 90% of hotels reportedly booked were below projections, running below even a typical June or July, which is wild. Good sound, good effect. You're getting good at that, Pablo. We're getting good at the matching the sound effects. But 70% of hoteliers in Dallas and Houston said booking rates were below expectations. But it's not all the cities. Shout out producer Pablo, because his country of original origin, even though he grew up here, was born here in New York, Guadalajara and Mexico City are crushing in terms of bookings. So it's not just that it's like a whole wide thing, right? It seems to be specifically the US, but Mexico as a whole is doing really well. 61% of hotels have been booked. Of booking rates have been in Mexico City, 60% in Montero. Producer Pablo, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, let's go. Mexico's also playing today, so good luck to them.
Are you gonna watch the game, Producer Pablo?
Yes, of course.
Okay, nice. What time are they playing?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Okay, so you're gonna have the game on one screen and then editing on the other
I'm
screen.
gonna be multitasking. maxing.
Multitasking, maxing.
I love it.
So, I mean, I think this was actually something that I knew was going to happen, because you have to look at it from the perspective of international travelers. Like, the tickets aside, right? They're expecting mass travel to Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, cities where travelers don't usually go to just to catch the game. I didn't think made much sense. It makes sense for a lot of travelers to go to the main coastal cities. So that's why New York City is performing very well. You're probably seeing LA is probably performing very well. Same with, Atlanta is probably performing decently well. And so it's just tough to
Like
bank.
Miami.
And Miami as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those cities are going to outperform. I also think that the World Cup being in North America, it's actually really meant for the domestic fans. Like,
Yeah.
the whole commercial opportunity here is not to have travelers come in.
I completely
That's
agree
not
with you.
why the U.S. had it here. I think the U.S. and FIFA both know that this is just a commercial powerhouse, and that domestically people will go to these games because they understand the hype, even if they're not even big soccer fans or they're just casual fans in general. So I don't think that this was ever a missed opportunity for FIFA. I think the promise made sense in order to make sure that some of these cities host these games, right? And in that negotiation saying, hey, look, you're going to get a lot of, economic boom here because of travelers
having
coming through.
insane like hotel blocks and travel blocks and booking blocks is just, that was, I think, a miss.
Yeah, that's true. But I just do think that, like, some cities were just not going to hit those projections, right? It's like,
I don't know. I mean, the way FIFA has been doing stuff and operating, commercializing before, increasing ticket prices, making previously free fan festivals and fan activations now paid, they're squeezing stuff out of this, right? I would have thought that there was actually that much demand. People would go from the UK to Kansas City to watch, or whoever, whatever country, to watch their home teams and home countries play in these cities.
yeah, I mean, it's tough. You're just having it in 12 different cities. Like, typically in a usual World Cup, it's congregated around one major city,
yeah.
or like 2-3 major cities when it was in Brazil.
So 65 to 70% of respondents from the survey said that visa barriers and geopolitical concerns are what's probably driving this. So I don't know. It's interesting. And yeah, a part that I missed on the Mexico front was that short-term rental demand is up sharply in Mexico's host cities. Guadalajara is up 136% compared to a typical June, July, and Montero is up 125%. So Shout out
Last
Mr.
minute
Pablo
ticket
again.
buys. I think that's probably what happened. Probably a bunch of.
It's also you have to think right
US
from
residents
from the U.S. residents themselves. These are travel destinations, so I don't know if Kansas City is a premium
That's what I'm
travel
saying.
destination.
During the summer, like, hey, like, you live in the Netherlands and you're gonna go to Kansas City. Like, look, I'm saying that actually just you would just stop by in New York, even not even going to the game, right?
No, I agree with you. Yeah, we got to be careful about dunking on cities that we haven't been.
No,
on.
I think Kansas City is awesome. Look,
We
they
get
got some of the
random
best
slack
sports
for it
franchises.
on the Instagram and TikTok. All right, cool. Moving on to M&A and major investments. So this one's a pretty cool one. We only have one. Peloton Interactive, the e-bike, the workout bike, fitness bike, acquired Scope. It's a Pilates-focused startup to bring new technology and expertise to its platform in Peloton's turnaround strategy and push to make it the great company it once was, right? So Scope makes connected Pilates reformers that retail for $8,000, and they track, it's a smart one, right? So it tracks weight distribution, pace, tension, range of motion, and repetitions in real time. As someone who hasn't ever done Pilates, I think it's pretty, or use a reformer, I think it sounds interesting and a differentiator, right? And the fact that Peloton just acquired, I think, is one of the leading ones. So here's the strategic rationale. Peloton's mat, so Peloton has seen from its workouts that the mat Pilates content surged 48% year over year last quarter, and that in 2025, Pilates was the fastest growing fitness category in the US. So it just made sense to look at this space as a potential acquisition. They've been active as itself. Peloton acquired the app Breathwork, which is the breathworking app and meditation app, last October. So they're active in the M&A space, and they bought Precor in 2021. And then the CEO said, Peter Stern, I believe is his name, he said that Pilates is a category ripe for the same kind of experiential reinvention we brought to cardio, which I think is super fascinating. Peloton is trading at $5.59, down 95% over the last 5 years. This is not a news story. People have been dunking and kind of not raving about Peloton over the last couple years. The market cap's about $2.4 billion. But the revenue, this is interesting though, okay? Those headline numbers say it's not a great thing, but revenue as of last quarter was $631 million. Free cash flow rose 59% to $151 million, and net debt fell 70%. So financially, they're reshaping this company and they're reconfiguring this. Paid connected fitness subscriptions came up to 2.6 million, to a little over 2.6 million, which is down roughly 8% year over year. So that's kind of the one downside, but it's the first positive year over year revenue growth in several quarters, which I think is awesome. And this is the last thing that I want to say. In Peloton's most recent earnings call, Peter Stern, the CEO, said the company had meaningful excess cash on its balance sheet and was open to highly targeted investments, and noting that there are very few companies in the public markets in the health and wellness sector that are in the health and wellness corner that can make this kind of moves, be the go-to acquisition or the acquisition behemoth for this sector, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, so I have a few takes on this. I think this was a bold move by them because they want to venture into what I will say a competitive market, but at the same time, fast-growing market. If you look at Pilates participation, it's grown from 9.2 million participants to 12.9 million participants from 2019 to 2024, according to a Women's Health article. 40% growth throughout that period. At the same time, ClassPass data shows that Pilates is the most booked workout globally for the third year in a row. Bookings up 66% year over year. It's a $19.2
It's on
billion.
ClassPass?
That was on ClassPass
Wow.
data. $19.2 billion market overall, and then the Pilates reformer market is at $580 million in 2024, projected to reach $1.2 billion by 2033, an 8.5% CAGR. So Pilates is exploding. Now, here's where my only concern is. There's actually a really good Guardian article that came out recently that reported that reformer Pilates boom has raised injury concerns because of underqualified instructors and poorly regulated studios, which ironic because the way that Peloton is looking at this is that they're trying to go through a consumer distribution, right? You're essentially saying you can go do Pilates at home, why go to SolidCore? And I think that's a pretty bold bet because, and I think from the software perspective, it's a good bet because it's a very cheap bet to make. But now you're expecting that customers who are using the Mat Pilates workout to buy an $8,000 product, which is by far one of their most expensive items hardware-wise. And so I know that there's a big data play here, but at the same time, you need to make sure that people are buying these scopes. But I do think like Pilates is like a communal activity, right? You make sure that you have an instructor in front of you because there are relative injury concerns that we've seen from boutique shops and boutique Pilates, instruction studios. So I do think that like
Peloton's whole model though is they're coaches and experts and professionals that are on the other side,
on
right?
digitally,
Yeah.
But like
To make sure in physical, yeah.
Right.
If you're probably doing it for the first
like
time,
a
you probably,
bike and a treadmill is fine. Like yeah, like your risk injury is probably much lower. But I do think Pilates, there's a reason why people go to solid core and they're like, hey, there's a person right in front of me. There's a bunch of people that I'm doing it with, right? Forget the injury risk aside, there's like a full community engagement activity that's going on there. And I think overall exercise is trending upwards in that direction more than, hey, do it at home, which was the big boom during COVID.
I still see this crushing in gyms when you can't reach a Peloton or a Pilates class.
Yeah, that's true.
Or in hotels where you're traveling and you can't go somewhere, you can't go to a one of these classes, and you can have this smart machine basically give you the workout that you wanted in the convenience of your hotel.
That is true. I do think though, like, yes, I mean, obviously you see Peloton runs, Peloton bikes at gyms,
just with the
but
growth, you have to think about from a B2B angle, these hotels, these gyms will probably make this play.
yeah, that's very possible. I just don't think it's going to be as big of a growth lever for their company. We'll see though. I
We'll
just
see.
think the market trends towards more communal sports activity than just or communal exercise activity than what it was before.
All right, fair. Moving on to our next section, new fund alert. What is this, 14 weeks in a row?
14 weeks in a row.
14 weeks in a row. I thought 13 was the unlucky number, and we somehow surpassed it. This one is an interesting one. So CAA, Creative Artists Agency, and private equity giant TPG just put $250 million, $250 million behind a new holding company called Compound Creative Holdings, built to buy and operate the businesses that that allow creators to run and build real media companies. So are they focusing strictly on YouTube creators?
I think they're focused on all types of creators.
Okay, so $250 million designed to acquire, operate, and grow a portfolio of leading creator economy businesses. So calling it a fund wouldn't be right because we wouldn't be giving it as much justice as it deserves. They're going to be actively, operating, building, growing these things. So this is interesting. So in 2023, French billionaire Francis Pinault completed his acquisition of a majority stake in CAA through his family investment company, Artemis. You were on that deal when you were
a long, long time ago
in a previous lifetime as an investment banker. So it's cool to see that they're still like relatively active in the space, that they're doing new things. But yeah, the compound will be led by, or the compound will be
honestly
led.
That's a pretty cool,
that's a cool name, right?
For this,
the compound
for this fund.
Compound will be led by Tucker Brown, an investment banker who previously helped raise money for Dude Perfect and Midas Touch Network. And he will and Compound operates independently from leveraging the existing infrastructure from CAA's existing creator arm, which is called CAA Creators, which represents more than 300 digital creators, including YouTube stars like Amelia de Moldenberg, who I don't know, Rhett and Link, who of course I do know, and Darman. It's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'm very bullish on this for a few reasons. One, I do think that creators are by far the most underinvested media platforms in the game, yet they have such a huge reach. And I do think that capital investment can actually be extremely helpful for them because these are people with some of the most groundbreaking and generational ideas. Now, a few of them get big enough where they actually do get where they're able to raise strategic capital. We saw this with Mr. Beast and Beast Industries. He's raised over a total of $500 million plus at a $5 billion valuation because he's building products around his media platform, right? We're seeing that he's building out that neobank. At the same time, he has Feastables. He has these different products. He has Beast Games, which is another like content platform. Who knows if there's like multiple video games that come out of it, but he's essentially building all these products around it because he owns a distribution. And so that's where the real value is and the real ROI for some of these major platform investments. At the same time, TBPN was just bought by OpenAI. They were at a $30 million revenue run rate. For TBPN is a podcast, by the way, and they sold for a couple $100 million.
Yep.
And you have Jake Paul, Sidemen, Logan Paul, Nelk. They all have built their brand, but then products around it. So CAA should tap into that. At the same time, it comes from the creators going from just making clips or making just short videos to now making full-blown movies, and they're outperforming traditional Hollywood. We saw this with Iron Lung, which is Markiplier's a new movie. It was a $3 million budget, and it went $50 million box office worldwide, self-written, self-financed, and self-distributed. Same with Obsession, movie that I've been trying to see. Pablo watched it twice. I don't know how someone can do that to themselves.
I'm too scared to watch that, yeah.
Curry Barker, $1 million budget, $229 million box office worldwide. Same thing, self-written, directed. And we have Backrooms as well, Kane Parsons, $10 million budget, $220 million box office worldwide. A24's biggest opening ever. So you can tap into this extension of creators becoming literal movie directors, screenwriters, and cinematographers. And that's a great investment because they have been built to run extremely lean. They have to learn it all themselves because they never got the investment, the backing. And so now I think this is where capital can be deployed in a very strategic way.
Yeah, I agree. Excited to see what happens. So we'll be looking forward to seeing what Compound continues to do and invest in and builds. Moving on to the emerging league news section. This one's a pretty quick one. Billionaire Mets owner and Point72, the hedge fund founder, Steve Cohen, is now a founding member and team owner in WTGL, Women's TGL, the women's version of Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy's Tech Golf League, and he's running the New York franchise through his family office called Cohen Private Ventures. He already owns the men's version of this, the New York Golf Club and TGL, so this is him doubling down in the team, the league, the concept. He just bought that, and here's the cool thing: like the league the team didn't even exist, or the league didn't even exist 18 months ago, so 2 years ago, and it's cool to see how fast it's come. WTGL launches this fall in partnership with the LPGA on the same SoFi Center stage that it happens. So super interesting. The two most recent WTGL owners, Arthur Blank and Alexis Ohanian, each reportedly paid $20 million for their franchises. So we'll see there was no number disclosed for this, but it's super fascinating. WTGL has committed 14 players so far, including 5 of the current top 11 in the world, and 95 combined LPGA Tour wins. So this should be a nice cultural infusion, excitement that comes to a new format, exciting format that comes to the world of women's golf. So I'm excited to see it.
So I can already predict in the comment section, if this does turn into a full-blown clip that goes viral, is why on earth are we buying franchises for 20 million, 100 million plus for just TGL in general, when this league has barely existed for 18 months? We don't have that much data on the viewership, etc. Now, I hear this all the time, and in my opinion, I do think that these are actual very strategic investments for a few reasons. A lot of people don't realize that these franchises are expensive because the league itself absorbs the cost, right? It's not your typical, franchise where you have to invest in like the venue, the tech, right? The resources around maintaining the stadium, at the same time operating a team for a major league like an NBA or NFL. With this league, it's all different. The league absorbs all of that cost, and at the same time, they're actually paying out the players as well because they have a full $20 million prize purse for TGL. Might look differently for the WTGL. So the costs are absorbed, and at the same time, your P&L looks a lot cheaper for running these teams. And so now it just comes, can you bring in the sponsorships? And if you have high-value viewers, maybe not a lot, but you do have a decent amount of high-value viewers, you can make a lot of profit from it. And so I think that these teams are actually more valuable than people think. And at the same time, they're powerful trophy assets because there's only a few of them, and they're aligned with top LPGA players and PGA Tour players. I think it makes complete sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Moving on to our industry spotlight. This one's a quick one. Could have included this in our new fund alert section, kind of, because it's not technically a new fund. Peter corrected me himself. But our friend Peter Campbell, who was the former vice president of private investments at LionTree, just went out to start his own firm called Tartan Investment Partners. It's a boutique independent investment firm investing in founders and CEOs in the experience economy. I don't know. According to producer Pablo, we didn't get the new fund alert, so I'm not going to say it's a new fund alert, but he's in the cultural zeitgeist industry spotlight.
Probably will be a fund soon.
Yeah. And so it's basically focused on kind of three main sectors: sports, media and entertainment, and lifestyle. $5 to $20 million equity checks. Target ownership is between 10 and 30%. Revenue should be over $10 million. He also has some pretty legit advisors already, including this former C-suite of Learfield and the former CEO of of PGA of America, which is super interesting. He told me this, but it's in the LinkedIn DMs. We have to catch up, Peter, if you're seeing this. But he told me, he corrected me from when I said, congrats on the new fund. It's basically he's going to raise SPVs for each deal on a deal-by-deal basis. So pretty interesting.
I think you build your rapport by raising these SPVs, getting some deals, and then now you have some deals on your belt. You can go to LPs and say, hey, look at my roster of venture investments that I've made. I built out a really strong track record. I want to now raise a fund. You've seen what I'm capable of.
Yep.
Let's go do it. So shout out, Peter. I think this is awesome. We're excited to see what investments you make. Hit us up. We might have a few.
And we can cover it.
Some money to deploy if there's an interesting deal that's out there.
Do we?
I don't know. We'll see.
I guess it depends, right? We'll make something work for the right thing.
Yeah, for sure. So super excited to see where Tartan goes.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, moving on to the startups and technology world. This one's also very quick. I only included it because I applied to Y Combinator, the infamous startup accelerator in San Francisco, with this exact idea a few years ago and didn't get in. And then there was a company called Arcaro that got backed. It was essentially AI for sports teams, AI agents for sports teams in particular, right? And they're optimizing their business workflows. And that got funded by Roger Ehrenberg and Alexis Ohanian in the space. I was like, oh, wow. There was legs to this idea and this product. And now, in particular, I was going to focus on ticket sales and voice agents for ticket sales and helping teams and leagues sell tickets or sell more tickets more efficiently through voice AI agents. And now Napster, the file sharing pirate that Metallica sued into oblivion once long time ago, is now selling Formula One tickets through AI. The Belgian Grand Prix just rolled out an AI concierge named Jack on its ticketing site, built on Napster's agentic AI stack. They're trained on integrating directly into the event's ticketing system so fans can ask questions in any language, 24/7, get recommendations based on budget, preference, grandstand versus VIP, hospitality, accommodations, camping, parking, whatever, seat type. I think this is the future. Every team will eventually have, and league should eventually have, if they don't already, some version of this. This is my prediction. Again, it's clearly a huge benefit for the fan and something that teams and leagues should be investing in my opinion.
I think you'll see a lot of these partnerships trickle in, and then you'll see an explosion of it once it's proof of concept. I feel like sports needs a lot of proof of concepts in order to adopt.
It's a very slow-moving industry when it comes to acquiring and implementing new technology.
Right, but I think the curve will just exponentially increase once they're like, oh, this is actually moving the needle.
We should go do that
from a dollar perspective. Yeah, we should.
We just need to duplicate ourselves so we can
duplicate ourselves
be on camera and run the business. But we got some interesting things cooking up, so we'll see what comes from that. Cool. Well, you have been prepping a lot for this one thing called AP Prediction Markets, and it's a new segment of our show where you're basically telling me, or teaching me and teaching, our lovely people tuning in the latest and the fundamentals of prediction markets. And you said the best way for you to do that is actually through an alter ego.
Through becoming a professor?
All right, you guys got to bear with me for a sec. I got a special surprise for y'all.
I skipped over the collectibles section, by the way. We'll come back to that because I know you wanted to include the OG thing.
Oh, the OG thing is sick, but we need predict.
Okay, you guys are this is about to be a nice treat. Hopefully this goes viral because this was my idea and he actually he
I
ordered
thought
all
it was
this,
a good idea. I thought it was a good idea.
and I think the equipment. I don't. That's not even equipment. The costume that you're about to put on, I think it's like the perfect one. Producer Pablo is dying behind the camera right now. I'm actually trying to like commentate so I don't actually just start looking and laughing without saying anything because you guys can't see yet.
All right. How we doing, y'all? The professor is back.
So wait,
I
this
can
is
barely
legend.
see through these goggles, but you're going to have to bear
this
with
is,
me here.
This is Professor Paramanu.
This is Professor Paramanu in the cut.
You need to say it. You need to have a mad scientist. you have to have a mad scientist voice and accent when you're doing like Dr.
All right, the
Doofenshmirtz.
professor's in session.
All right. Sorry,
Students,
Professor.
please be quiet.
Okay.
Class is in session. A lot of exciting prediction market news that's been happening this past week. I mean, we saw that Polymarket Liga MX, Genius Sports was behind that deal as well. And now we're seeing an interesting one with Sportradar and Kalshi, and it caught my attention.
Professor, please do tell me about this.
Yeah, so Sportradar is by far one of the strongest commercial providers of live betting and odds data for all the sports books. So what they do is they go and take league official data. They broker these partnerships with leagues. Sportradar, actually really interesting. They have like a $1 billion 8-year deal with the NBA, and the NBA actually has a stake in the business as well because they know their data is valuable, so they want to monetize off of it.
Okay.
And so they feed all this data and all this fan engagement tech as well, and they feed it to the sports books. So when you see like all these interesting like live odds, scheduling, scoring, at the same time data visualizations when you're scrolling through and want to make a parlay, etc., all that sports books. That's provided through Sportradar and actually their competitor, Genius Sports. What makes this really interesting is that Sportradar is a public company. Yes, you can buy Sportradar stock, and it's actually not been performing very well. Year to date, I think they're down 30%, and a lot of it had to do with, one, public markets were actually bearish on Sportradar and Genius Sports for one reason and one reason. Actually, there's a lot of reasons, but main reason is that their entire customer base is the sports books. And when prediction markets came into the scene, they said, oh my God, their main customer base, they're getting beaten out by prediction markets. And that end market is fully tied to the revenue of Sportradar and Genius Sports. Now, secondly, sorry, it's crazy. I can't even see a single person here. Secondly, is Muddy Water Research, this hedge fund, came out and they had this report.
So Muddy Water is a hedge fund?
It's a hedge fund. They're active. They love shorting stocks.
Okay.
So instead of, betting on the economy,
pretty
like,
timely name, right? Muddy Waters. Or
Muddy
not timely,
Water.
but like a thematic
I think
name.
they own it. I think they own it as a short seller. But essentially, they have been shorting Sportradar stock, and they had a report that said that Sportradar was actually using their live betting and data and that commercial arm that they have, and that they were selling it to illegal betting platforms across the world. Obviously, that's being legally disputed. I have no data information. I feel like that's just something that, a report happens and it actually does hurt the stock. April is down 20%. But now Sportradar has officially partnered with Kalshi, and they're providing the same services that they were providing for sportsbooks to prediction markets. Now, actually, previously before, I did not know that this was going to be the case, because what's different about sportsbooks is that they can get that live betting odd feed. It helps for DraftKings and FanDuel to figure out what odds to be set. But prediction markets, a peer-to-peer exchange, right? You technically don't need that because you have market makers and you have individuals that are trading and that they're kind of essentially making the line themselves. But their data is so potent and powerful for market makers that they can actually use that to facilitate these different contracts and price them at a very efficient manner. Now, you've probably used Kalshi or Polymarket in the sports space, and
or Novig
or Novig too as well. Actually, at some point, Novig will have a prediction market pretty soon. So
they're working on
the
that
mad scientist himself will be trying that out. But one thing that I've noticed actually is that these contracts don't close that fast because they have to go and surface through public data to make sure, okay, did this actually really happen? And the more complicated the sports contract gets, the slower that process is. And that can cause a lot of discontent amongst their fan base. With Sportradar, they can make sure that happens extremely fast. They can also provide more liquidity to the markets because market makers will be able to operate efficiently. And third and most importantly, when you go on these prediction market apps, they don't look like traditional sports books, right? It's not spreads, it's not odds, there's no data visualization, schedule scores, etc. That's never the case. But with this technology, they might actually be able to improve the user interface for sports trades specifically. So really excited to see how this actually gets mapped out on Kalshi. And this is really interesting, though. I brought this up, and this is the last point that I want to make. Professor Paramanu,
Wait, you're giving very valuable pieces of information, and I'm listening, but it's just
and this
funny.
is something that I'm going to actually quiz Pablo and Sid on the next iteration of this. And this is a good point to be made. So Sportradar, so Kalshi already has major partnerships, I believe, with the MLS, MLB, UFC, etc. So a lot of that data filtration, Sportradar is going to be able to provide, but they won't be able to provide it for the NBA. Actually, there was a Sports Business Journal article. I can barely read the screen, so I'm going to have to just come up with the quote or paraphrase the quote. But the NBA is not interested in working yet because they don't have a full agreement with Kalshi. But what's really interesting is that the NBA has a stake in Sportradar, and they have a major data deal with Sportradar as well. So I feel like it's these external moves that adds more pressure to sports leagues to say, hey, look, like they're kind of technically profiting off this. At the same time, they have a major data deal that's worth $1 billion of Sportradar. And now their end market is Kalshi, which is a prediction market that they aren't willing to work with yet. It's such an interesting dynamic here. And I feel like it puts the league under more and more pressure as all these different sports betting and prediction market providers, data tools are all working together now. So really interesting. Lastly, the stock has actually performed really well since the announcement.
How well?
I think it's up 10%.
Wow.
And this got announced, 3 days ago? So pretty...
That's after Sportradar stock has been getting crushed, right?
Been getting crushed because it sends a signal to the market that, Sportradar can actually work with the prediction markets that are taking market share from the sports books.
Yeah. Very fascinating.
All right, I got to take these
Thank you,
goggles
Professor
off 'cause-
Paramanu. That was excellent.
Whoa.
I feel like that one's going to do well. Hopefully. We got to clip that up. Well. Well, last thing is...
I can see again.
You can
I can
see
see
again.
again. Wow.
Well, we were going to skip over our collectibles section because what we had wasn't that good, but given the timing...
No, I have one collectibles thing that I do want to talk about.
Tell me about it.
Last thing for the show. I mean, obviously, the Knicks had one of the greatest comebacks of all time, and OG Anunoby was the one who hit the game-winning shot. It was actually a putback. I mean, it was crazy. Jalen Brunson shoots it deep from 3, hits the rim, and then Wemby's up. There's no rebounders, and OG just tips it in.
It was actually objectively
a great play because OG had the block on De'Aaron Fox beforehand. Now, Topps actually just had a tweet. It was literally like right after the game. I don't even know how this is possible. The net from OG Anunoby's insane game winner is going inside an autograph trading card. And Pablo, I know you're going to pull up the actual picture of it, but literally the piece of the net is like around the Finals NBA logo with OG picture of him going up, and then it's signed as well. And I mean, there's a lot of discourse going on. It's like, how much is this collectible going to sell for? And I think this is so timeless. If the Knicks actually win the chip, this is going to go down one of the greatest comebacks and the greatest shots of NBA Finals history. This is going over $1 million+. I'm calling it.
We made a lot of predictions this show.
Yeah, where's our crystal ball? Because
we
need to have a crystal ball with a sponsor on
track
it. It just revolves around. That'd be pretty cool, actually.
That was probably the smartest thing you've ever said. Now you got me thinking, and now we're going to...
What do you mean? I say smart stuff all the time.
Okay, all right, but that one was really, really smart. We should actually think about... I'm not even joking. That's a culturally... that's our own original culture piece that we can implement into our show.
Yeah, let's see. We'll see what sponsor's interested in
This one was a good one. I liked today's show. We crushed it. Had a lot of great predictions, interesting topics. World Cup is here. And we'll see what Speed and World Cup as a whole does and if it keeps it exciting for the masses.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally going to every single venue every single day to go and hang out with the fans and stuff and streaming it. So,
well, hopefully you get to watch this on one screen and the World Cup on the other screen and on a third screen
it's on
the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
So, and the San Antonio Spurs.
And the San Antonio Spurs. Hey, the series is not over yet.
It's not over yet. Job's not finished for either team. So, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.